What is up, cinephiles? Welcome back to Screen Kings. For today's video, I'll be doing a non-spoiler review of the Netflix horror action thriller called Blood Red Sky, directed by Thorwarth. This one tells the story of a single mother with a mysterious illness. She boards in a plane along with her son when suddenly a group of terrorists hijacks the flight. Now, this terrorist chose the wrong flight because it turns out she's not ill, she does not have leukemia or something. She's actually a vampire. Now, there, I spoiled it for you guys, but the trailer spoiled it anyway. So, yeah, I think this is the best marketing strategy that they have. Basically, vampires on a plane. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. So, before I continue with this review, I invite you guys, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do so by hitting that subscribe button and that like button as well. If you're down for weekly reviews of movies and TV shows, looking at this movie, it feels like this is one of those movies that is born by Netflix algorithm. A lot of random plot elements here. Let's do a hostage film. Now, let's set it 30,000 feet above the ground and let's add a vampire into the mix to make things more fun and exciting. So essentially a B-movie, I'm in the mood for that. So I watched it during the weekend. A lot of silly things happen here. And you know, you have to realize that this mom, she needs to do whatever it takes to protect her son. So she might have to unleash her animalistic instincts. I have this vision in my head that maybe it would be cool if, I don't know, the first 10 minutes started from the perspective of this unknown assailants, and then suddenly, boom, they found out that one of the passenger is actually a vampire. Then from there, the point of view will shift from the vampire. I think that will be awesome. Like, give them some sort of a don't breathe treatment. Like, they felt like they're going to get away with this, but no, they met their match. Something about the predictable plot beats, maybe I've seen too much of this, not necessarily the vampires on a plane concept, but you know, the plot elements that are found in this movie that I just find it predictable and somehow dull a bit in terms of execution. It's still entertaining and very watchable, especially if you're in the mood of, you know, action thriller, vampire, zombie, I don't know, whatever. The climactic events here are telegraphed. You can feel them, so you know when to expect them and you get them. And the dragging and slow moments in the middle part, you also sense them. So I was watching this with my father, and you know, I just got up and I don't know, took a piss and grabbed some snacks, and nothing really much happened. So basically, I predicted the whole rhythm of the movie, and I wasn't too, I don't know, I wasn't too excited or thrilled during my experience. Maybe because of the direction. I know they're given limited shots here because they're working on close quarters, or maybe the color palette because it's just dull gray color palette all throughout. But the main reason why this movie never gets into its full momentum is because of its flashbacks, and I definitely get why they have to do that, because they want to give an origin story to the vampire mom here, which is Nadia, how she contracted being a vampire, how did she come into terms of using her abilities. Honestly, it takes away from the momentum of the film, and not to mention that this is already a flashback within a flashback, because the first scene is actually a flash forward of the aftermath of one of the climax in the third act. So when you get to that flashback, it almost feels basic, nothing really justifiable or something that will really impact the present day events. It just breaks the tension, and I think that's the whole disadvantage. But you know, in terms of the things that they nail here, which is the emotional core, I guess, the mother and son dynamic. After all, this is the story of a parent who will do whatever lengths she has to do to protect her son. And likewise, the son here is after the safety of his mother, and by doing so, he's constantly putting his life in danger. And there's a caveat here, because the mom can just go berserk against her enemies. There's a mythos to the vampirism here, that it's something that can be passed on something quickly and turn someone into a vampire as well, as quick as that. So the last thing that she wants is to have a plane full of vampires and, you know, inadvertently start an outbreak on an apocalyptic level, because this plane might land somewhere, right? So there adds the conflict. The main thing that works for me here is the acting of Nadia, played by Peri Baumeister. It's hard to have a role like this because you need to balance that maternal instinct along with that animal rage. You can see the push and pull to this character, the tug of war, her eternal turmoil. One moment you're killing your enemies, then on the other hand, you have to restrain yourself from actually biting your son. I also have to commend the makeup team here for doing her overall look, which I really like. It reminded me of the creature named Nosferatu, if you're familiar with that. As she sucks more blood, she gets scarier and the evolution of her face becomes more prominent into this monster. As for the son, he plays this archetypal precocious child. Now, I don't want to bash the kid or anything, but the portrayal or the characterization of this kid is a bit annoying for me, especially that the third act kind of lands on his perspective, so I wasn't really digging this character. I mean, I care about his safety, but I don't really buy that this kid is that smart or brave enough to pull off what he did, and it seems like this character is a bit out of sync from the script. So yeah, that's just my opinion. But as for the rest of the cast, I don't care to any one of them, maybe with the exception of the guy who plays Farid. He's a kind stranger who acts as the father figure for Elias here. But as for the rest of the cast, I don't really care if any one of them die, and maybe that's okay, because when it comes to survival thrillers like this, you have to rely on a lot of stereotyping, and you know, you just need to know which of them is the good and the bad, you know. And as for the hijackers here, there are a bunch of interchangeable gruff buff men. Dominic Purcell of Prison Break is here, but he's not really given anything much to do. The only person that gets personality on the villain side is the one played by Alexander Scheer as 8-Ball, who turns out to be a homicidal maniac. So that character very much fits to the over-the-top silliness of the movie. I would say that the first act is a bit of a tense thriller, though it's not really a mystery much because you already know what's the mystery behind it. And then the second act, it goes into almost ridiculous zombie subgenre because, you know, infection gets spread throughout the plane. And then third act, I wasn't really a big fan of it. I'm not gonna say anything, but yeah, this movie has a lot of elements, you know. I felt like I've already seen them before, but it never really rises to the formula. There are some themes here about anti-Islamic sentiments or racial stereotyping that never really gets to grow because the movie kind of abandons them to a predictable explosion and bloodshed third act. And actually, the intentions or the motivations of the hijackers were never really explained. And in the end, I guess it doesn't matter because these characters are serving as antagonists anyway for Nadia to beat. This remains to be a high concept premise, no matter how silly it is. But I felt like the movie should have embraced its B-movie aspects more, and that over 2 hours of runtime really strains. I felt like this could have trimmed 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. It's still watchable, but it could have been exciting and less predictable, just for my taste. So if you're curious to watch this movie, just go ahead and watch it. Maybe it just didn't work for me and maybe it will work for you. But that's it for my review of Blood Red Sky. How about you? Have you seen this movie? Let me know what you think in the comment sections down below. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, hit that like button and subscribe to us for weekly content. Thank you so much guys for watching. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.